Yeah, just give it a chance.
Okay. Hey everybody, it's Tara Green here. This is connecting my video. There we go. Hi everybody, Tara Green here. Okay, finally.
Oh yeah, there you are.
There we go. Okay. Hey everybody. Okay, a few minutes waiting here. I was on earlier trying to set up this software. There we go. Okay, I can see myself there. Okay, so please say hi. And there we go. Please say hi. I'm Tara Green here, Agent 129 of the Cosmic Intelligence Agency. There we go. Says there's 8 people there. Okay. I am a bit of a, I love the computer technology. Hi, Alita. But I'm a bit of a Luddite sometimes, but I also say it's my energy that I kind of screw up computers and stuff like that, even with my wonderful husband's help here. So thank you for sticking around. Okay, we're going to have a wonderful evening tonight. Bit of a presentation, bit of an echo. Okay, but hi from New York. Hi, Louise. Hi, Gabrielle. I am Agent 129, Tara Green, Cosmic Intelligence Agency up here in Toronto, Canada. Okay, I'm going to talk. Okay. Hi, Ruth. Hi, everybody. Okay, I'll wait a few minutes. Thank you for hanging out here while we figured out the kinks in this. I'll figure it out one day, I hope. Good evening, Rhonda. Nice to see you, too. So welcome. I'm doing a special presentation here tonight. I don't know why I'm echoey, actually. Doing a special presentation here tonight on the Scorpio upcoming solar eclipse. So as we all know, there's so much going on right now. Yulia, the founder of the Cosmic Intelligence Agency, and Alex Trenoweth, and a whole bunch of other, I think Olga Morales, a bunch of other wonderful astrologers. Hi, Sam. Nice to see you too. Are up there in the Australian outback looking at Venus and talking about Venus because, of course, tomorrow is that very rare, very auspicious Sun-Venus cazimi. I love that word for Venus or any planet being in the heart of the sun where it gets a special blessing there. So tomorrow, pretty much all day, you can take advantage of that. I am a real stickler for doing ceremony and for treating the planets like gods and goddesses, like the ancients, like our ancestors did. You know, and everybody's always been enamored of the stars, the planets, you know, and everybody's always worshipped Venus. So, you know, it's auspicious because it's at 29 degrees of Libra, and Venus hasn't had a star point, one of her 5 major star points, in 150 years. So that's a pretty rare special occasion. Hi, Rhonda from Buffalo with a fractured toe. I'm so sorry. Yeah, you need to slow down. Okay. And then I'm just going to do a brief kind of overview of what's leading into and what's coming just after this solar eclipse. So again, tomorrow, 22nd, Sun conjuncts Venus, 5:17 p.m. This is Eastern Daylight Time. And then Saturn also turns direct, 9:07 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time and 12:07 a.m. on the 23rd in Eastern Daylight Time. So that's pretty momentous. Also, Saturn changing direction. Things that have been held back since April when Saturn went retrograde can now move forward. Saturn's in Aquarius at around 18 degrees. So if you have planets, rising sign, nodes, angles, anything around 16 to 18 degrees, you know, you're going to start to feel that big relief because you're going to be able to move forward. And Saturn rules the bones, by the way. So if you, and Pisces rules the feet. So if you've broken a toe, it would be Saturn and Pisces. Okay. If you haven't been here before, thank you. I welcome you to joining me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the Scorpio solar eclipse and its significance for you. And then I'm going to pull my tarot cards because you also am a professional tarot card reader. And we're going to talk about the significance of the cards for your sign, for your sun sign, moon sign, rising sign. Hi from Australia. Okay. So Venus enters Scorpio at Scorpio season also on the 23rd. Venus is hanging out with the sun very closely there. They're in bed together. They're making what's called the sacred marriage. Okay, so Scorpio season starts officially 6:36 a.m. on the 23rd, again, Eastern Daylight Time. And then that brings us to the 25th, the Scorpio new moon, dark moon, the darkest of the dark moons, solar eclipse at 2 degrees with no change. 0 degrees minutes of Scorpio. So you want to think about if you know your chart, you want to know, where is this affecting me? Okay, I've got the chart here. I don't know if you can see that. There's a bit of a time lag here. I will talk about this chart. I do have my OBS studio set up here, so we can look at the chart as well. And I'm going to talk about the background and the eclipse series and, what this means for you. Okay, and then we'll pull those tarot cards. And then after that, if that isn't enough excitement for you, solar eclipse. And a solar eclipse opens, as do lunar eclipses, opens a window of opportunity for 6 months. So that's why I thought it would be important to do the tarot cards to guide you, to have some symbolism from the tarot cards to guide you for the next 6 months. So this is a big deal. And then, of course, Mars, the ruler of Scorpio, the traditional ruler of Scorpio. Pluto is the modern ruler of Scorpio, and I do both. I use both. Mars turns retrograde. We've been waiting for this for a long time. Mars turns retrograde on the 30th at 9:26 a.m. That's Eastern Daylight Time. Now, it will be retrograde until January the 11th, 2023. So that is a very long time for Mars, the action planet, the defensive, the warrior, the passion, the action, the drive. Everybody's drive, testosterone. Everybody has an inner masculine and feminine. So we're all going to feel that pullback, that rest period. The symbol for retrograde is a big capital R, little x, which is like the symbol for prescription. So I always take that as meaning all retrograde planets are good medicine. Okay, now Mars is turning retrograde at 25 degrees of Gemini, which is also significant, and it will be in effect on the eclipse. Mars turns retrograde 25 degrees of Gemini, which is connected to the North Star. So if you know how to find the North Pole Star, it was the most ancient traditional star that sailors navigated by. Literally the North Star is also a sacred spiritual significance as well. So Mars and Gemini. So of course, we've just gotten out of Mercury retrograde, and then I believe there's another Mercury retrograde still before we hit the end of the year. So Mars retrograde in Gemini, we're going to review and reconnect with people from our past, especially men from the past. Could be old lovers, could be old fights, of course, old battles, revisiting old battles. There's so many connections to Mars and Gemini. But yeah, if you think of Mercury retrograde is difficult, and Mars retrograde in Gemini is also going to be hell for communications, but great if you're editing a book, a screenplay, if you want to really lay back and think about what you're doing and what has been going on, because as we know, the world has been kind of crazy for the last while. Okay, so, all right, so let's talk about this solar eclipse here. Okay, hang on, let me just switch this over here. Okay, so there you go. You can see that chart, and I've got to move over. I've got to move over. Which way am I moving? I'm moving this way. Okay, I hope everybody can see that. Okay, so there's the chart of this eclipse. I also have a PowerPoint presentation, which if I don't get this up, I guess I'm just going to talk here about what this means. So this is, you can see I've drawn the stress lines in and added some in to this eclipse. So you can see it's pretty intense. There is also a grand air trine in effect there. But before we get to all that, okay, that's what it looks like technically. Okay, so let's get back and we'll start at the beginning here. Okay, so the Scorpio solar eclipse, October 25th, begins. Now, there are different timings in the world, I think, because people consider it starting in different places. But for Greenwich Mean Time, it begins at 8:58 Greenwich Mean Time, reaches its max, according to this, at 11 GMT, and ends at 13:02 GMT. Now, I've got mine timed for Toronto, Canada, so it's at 6:49 a.m. peak in Toronto, Canada. So you have to look at, go to timeanddate.com, and they will show you the eclipse path and where you can see it. Now, it won't be visible over North America. It will be visible over France, Spain, most of Europe, right all over the Middle East, pretty much all over India, most of the northwestern part of Russia. And so those areas, and also Northeast Africa, those areas are going to be most affected. If you're under the shadow of the eclipse, you're most affected. Okay. So it is very significant for certain people. President Biden has his sun, I believe, opposite that or something else. Hang on, but we'll get to that. Okay, so this is the darkest of the dark moons. It's very much a time of magical new intention setting, as all new moons are, and for honoring the dark feminine aspects. Now, it is very rare to have the sun and Venus and the moon together on an eclipse. So there's very specific significance here. Now, Venus and the moon are both not strong, though, at this eclipse, okay? There's a significance to the degree as well, because 3 degrees of Taurus is where the moon is exalted, but the moon is in its fall at 3 degrees of Taurus. So the moon is considered to be not strong in traditional astrology. Venus is also considered to be not strong because she's in Mars's home. Now, these are very traditional, talk about gender politics. There is polarities, and we need to work with the complementary opposite polarities, right? But, Venus was traditionally the goddess of love and war. They've taken the war out of her because we've been handed down these patriarchal images. And so we may not want to think about Venus as a warrior goddess, but, they say all is fair in love and war. So, she is conjunct the sun, though. She did just get this beautiful golden blessing from the sun. She is still very close, although, the Cazimi is only, a planet is within 17 seconds of the center of the sun, so it's very precise. Otherwise, Venus is now considered to be combust or burned up by the sun. So some astrologers are saying this is wonderful and beautiful, and some are saying, no, it's terrible and hard because it is a Mars-ruled one way or the other eclipse. So, and Mars is in Gemini, so there's a lot of intellectual, and again, that sense of duality, those debates going on. Okay, so solar eclipses impact outward, visible events. Lunar eclipses impact internal ones. So a solar Scorpio eclipse is going to activate secret, hidden things that are going to come to light, which is a good thing. So everything is born from the darkness and is birthed into and dies in the light. That's a Rudolf Steiner quote. Okay, so we're going to use the themes of Scorpio about birth and death and transformation to cut off parts of ourselves, not literally, things in our lives that are not helping us to grow and transform to our soul's purpose. Scorpio rules the soul. Okay, Scorpio is about depth psychology. Okay, especially when you do modern rulership, Pluto. Traditionally, it is only about death. Okay, death, rebirth. In tropical astrology, Scorpio is about sexuality. It rules the reproductive organs. You may find issues coming up stronger for women that are having issues with their reproductive organs after this eclipse. And again, if you are bleeding during this eclipse, the dark moon is usually the time when women traditionally bleed. Really tune into the power that this solar eclipse has to kind of change and transform any issues or blocks that you're having. Because Scorpio ultimately is about freedom. Okay? So if you have any planets, again, from 1 to 4 degrees of Scorpio, you have to use very tight orbs with an eclipse. Usually it's 2 degrees. You will be impacted most by the solar eclipse, right? Okay, so look to where those degrees are in your chart and the houses that they fall in and any aspects that they're making. So eclipses always herald major changes to world figures, traditionally deaths. Now, Yulia did a little piece about this because the eclipse can be considered to be in effect before they happen, and it affected Queen Elizabeth, like her. She was born right at the beginning of Taurus, and King Charles's sun is at the beginning of Scorpio, so he's being heavily impacted actually at this eclipse. And yeah, it usually signifies death of a leader. So anybody, I think Putin is also, although we have no accurate birth time for Putin, some people are saying he's impacted by it as well. So eclipses occur every 6,585.32 days, 18 years, 11 days, and 8 hours apart, and they are counted in Saros numbers or cycles, okay? And they were known to the ancient Chaldeans as well. So this is very, very ancient. So they used to call in China and in India too, the dragon eating the sun. So solar eclipse, total solar eclipse, and the north nodes and south nodes of the moon are traditionally called. The north node is the dragon's head, and the south node is the dragon's tail. This is very, very ancient. Dragons are course, having a big resurgence these days because of Game of Thrones and Harry Potter and and things like that. Um, so, okay, the Venus star point. I talked about that a little bit. So now we're going to talk about this tarot cycle. Okay, it is tarot cycle 124, and it is 55 of 73 eclipses in a row. So the next one will be November the 4th, 2040, which just is about when Pluto is finishing out its journey in Aquarius. The world's going to be very different, 18 years from now. Okay, so this eclipse began on March the 6th, 1049. And the second one was on March the 17th, 1067, which is significant because in 1066, the Normans conquered England. So this eclipse cycle is very much impactful to the state of the UK, which of course just lost their new Prime Minister, Liz Truss, who only reigned for 44 days, which is a Masonic master number signal, which makes me think there's something else going on there. But it was Christmas Day, 1066, when King William immediately began consolidating his power. And there was an eclipse at the beginning of the UK, actually, which is going to end during King William's reign on the throne, if we even get there. By 1067, King William faced revolts, and he was forced to, really press hard on Scotland and Wales until they were forced to recognize him. So it is a very powerful impact on the UK. You can see there's a lot of turmoil going on for King Charles III. Okay, so you want to look back at the last time these eclipses happened. Last time was October 14th, 2004. And before then, October the 3rd, 1986. So if you were born around those times, or you can remember what happened to you at that point in your life, you want to look back at that. August 3rd, 1986. September 22nd, 1968. So that was kind of during the Beatles and all that. The protests against the war in Vietnam. September 12th, 1950. And then August 31st, 1932, which is at the beginning of the Kristallnacht in Germany, Hitler's rise. So anti-Semitic things, a lot of white supremacy and things like that, which is also resurfacing in the world. And then August 21st, 1914, that's the time that the Second World War ended. And July 18th, 1960, I took a leap there. It was just before the Civil War in the U.S. broke out. Okay, so the moon is in its fall in detriment. It's not really a bad thing, but the Venus conjunction there adds love and beauty, appreciations of values, very much attraction, especially if you're born, if you have stuff around that 3 degrees of Scorpio. Now, Mars is out of bounds. Okay, now this is a modern astrology technique. I believe that Stephen Forrest wrote about it. A number of astrologers talk about it. I find it very accurate and very important. So the moon's declination is out of bounds beyond the normal one that the sun stays in, bound by the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn. So Mars is like a wild card right now. So that adds further chaos to this eclipse energy. Mars is out of bounds at precisely 23 degrees, 34 minutes, 40 seconds north. Okay. So again, this is a very rare and powerful thing. Now, I like to deal with Sabian symbols and different kinds of symbols, actually. Linda Hill, an astrologer, says that her version of this symbol is neighbors help and house-raising party in a small village. So this is about cooperation, things that bind people together, a project, a belief, parties, considering the needs of other people, matchmaking, community halls, helping hands, and homeless shelters. So, everybody's been so isolated and separated now. I think everybody's kind of over COVID in a way, and everybody wants to get together. I'm like busy with all kinds of real parties and things like that as well now. Now, I do like to look at John's sandbox. He does very esoteric symbols, so I'm going to talk about this one. There's a degree angel for it called Rochelle. This degree possesses innate knowledge of what is needed to sustain life versus what may be desired based on fantasies or addictive needs. There is something highly concentrated about its energy, so that what it may seem to be at first may be quite different from how it is experienced as it unfolds over time. Sounds like an unfoldment of the eclipse as well. It is hard to get to know, hard to assimilate, and may be difficult to understand, but any attempts to do so are well worth the effort, for it has much of value to offer this degree. The Chandra symbol for this degree is pigs being fed. We associate pigs with gluttony and overeating. The symbol does not say how much they are being fed. Are they being stuffed with as much food as they can possibly hold? Or are they being fed a healthy amount? Scorpio is the sign of desire, and overeating is often an attempt to fulfill oneself when one has been starved or denied in other areas. So you want to think about that. That may be a bit of a metaphor, right? That you want to take in so much now because we've all been starving metaphorically and really for each other, for touch, for being close. If, though, it is not in deep and sincere touch with its true desires, it may binge chronically in an attempt to get something it never quite gets. So the Pleiadian symbol, workers without any plans are building a labyrinth. That means you're following your intuition. There's something called an Azoth symbol, alchemists sharing, integrating, refining their formulae. And really the sun, Venus, and moon together is like an alchemical marriage. The seed degree, 2 degrees of Taurus, that's opposite of course. A saint's bones have turned to pure gold. So this is about the ancients. And Scorpio has to do with death and your ancestors, your inheritance. So this is an interesting symbol. When we contact the deepest, most enduring meaning within, we find that it is amazingly nurturing and has the power to sustain us deeply when we allow it to. So it's time to connect with the ancestors. Wilting flowers form a graceful pattern in a vast Chandra symbol. The passing away of beauty, there's a little bit truncated there, when realized as beautiful in itself, allows us to be nourished by all phases of the cycles of birth and death, so finding the beauty in life and death. The fulfillment degree, Sagittarius 18, a satyr, chasing young maidens who are laughing and screaming. That's some kind of Scorpio sexual there. Omega symbol, a deep fulfillment of our desires allows us to be carefree and to enjoy life to the fullest. Rose petals scattered on the path. So it might be good to get some rose petals and throw them around because I really would advise you to do ritual during the eclipse. When we allow ourselves to be satiated, we are then able to see the love that is everywhere to be found along our way. So that's a very nice image. And then I'm going to read another one here. Elias Lonsdale also has his interpretations of the Sabian symbols, and he says it's the pigs being fed. So I think about Animal Farm. He says, feast or famine, generating a world with an on or off switch. By pressing the off switch habitually, none of your deeper needs or desires are being met. And you resent this with an internal grumble that eats away at your substance. The on switch, pressed in emergencies, excuse me, when you have nothing left, pulls in a very real response, a very full response to what you crave. Suddenly, everybody and everything are there filling you up with goodies. Yet as soon as you've had your fill, you starve yourself down to spiritual emancipation, denying yourself everything that you are chronically hooked on. This is a karmic pattern. Granting yourself brief reprieves from this ancient sentence is the only way to blow off steam and survive for another round. However, you do acquire a taste for the plus state to come, realizing that if you can release the past, everyone else is willing. And all signs are forewarned or forward as soon as you let up stinging yourself, that's the scorpion sting, for past misdeeds and come afresh to life hungry and willing. Well, that's a lot to think about there. So those born on or near the eclipse date, early, and also the 4 fixed signs. So early degrees of Aquarius, January 23rd, Taurus, April 22nd, and Cancer up to July the 5th will feel this degree very much. So Scorpio is an archetype of death, which is number 13 in the tarot. There's the death card there. Let's see, where am I? Okay, there's the death card. Okay, let's see. There's the death card. Okay, hang on. Maybe I should just take this off right now. Take that transition off. No, take that off. There we go. All right. So there's the death card. Okay, death card there. Number 13. A necessary stage in all life. Our cells are always dying and being reborn. So death is not to be feared. The West has a big phobia about death, although now there's death doulas, but traditionally death was honored. You know, your ancestors were buried right near your house. You fed them. You kept food for them. You know, Asian cultures still do this to this day. When you go into a Chinese restaurant, they usually have 3 oranges symbolizing wealth for their ancestors. And it's a really beautiful thing to do, especially the tradition is on the Day of the Dead on November the 1st. And this Scorpio energy will be in effect for 6 months, okay, covering that time. So Scorpio magnetizes things from the deepest emotional soul desires. So it's important to get in touch with right now. What does your soul really want? What does your soul really want? To spend time having a soul one-to-one. Scorpio intensifies everything. It is about sex, love, reproduction, tantric sexuality, power, magnetism, control, secrets, the underworld, very literally, laundered money, sex trafficking, porn, BDSM, that's all Scorpio things, inheritance, taxes, traditionally rebirth, depth psychology, cemeteries, all of this. Under this especially potent solar eclipse, the karmic nature and the repercussions of relationships and developing circumstances cannot be understated. So again, we've already been sort of under the influence of this, and Queen Elizabeth dying, of course, was part of that. So questions to ask, for what it's worth. You can play that Buffalo Springfield song as well. Something's happening here, but it isn't exactly clear. So what is worth it for me? Venus conjunct the sun here is also about values. What are the deepest values? What are my life and death values? If somebody had a gun to your head, you would get very clear about what you wanted. Okay, so metaphorically, you have to put that gun to your own head. I remember my shamanic teacher, Raya Mountain Dreamer, having us do this technique where we had to write our own epitaph and go to our own funeral. I think Taylor Swift just did that. But it is a good shamanic exercise, and to live each day as if it was your last. There's an indigenous saying that it's a good day to die because you're going to choose what's really important to you. So that's what we're at right now, okay? It's also about money. So you want to think about how you're earning money. I know a lot of people are worried about money, the economy, and what do I really want? And also your ancestors here. What are my ancestral gifts? And really importantly, what needs to die for new growth to take place? Okay. All right. Now, Prince William has his Jupiter at 0 degrees of Scorpio, and Prince Harry has Pluto at 0 Scorpio as well. So they're both really hit very strongly by this eclipse. King Charles has his moon at 0 degrees of Taurus, opposite this. Okay. This eclipse will also raise important questions in dialogue about the monarchy, colonialism, and things about like unmarked graves, which is going on here in Canada, like a terrible crime. Canada's been horrible to its Indigenous people. The solar eclipse is in Putin's 12th house, 1 degree away from his ascendant. So there's something happening to Putin. Of course, he could very well die. He has cancer, or there could be an assassination attempt, or he could literally just be killed. Scorpio rules big banks. So again, the big banks are in the zone there, in the crossfires. Explosions, spies. We're kind of being threatened with World War III here. Pluto, as ruler of Scorpio, it is atomic bombs. Pluto was discovered in 1930 as the atomic bomb was being developed. Murder, torture, like what's going on in Iran right now with women protesting. So it is in Scorpio Decan 1, okay, and that Decan is known, the first Decan of Scorpio, from the 21st to the 20th of November. Does that make sense? No, that's a whole month. So from the 21st for 10 days. Is known as the week of power. The first 10 days are the most potent. I think she means the whole thing about Scorpio, all of Scorpio there, from the October the 22nd, actually, or actually the 23rd this year. Because of its unrestrained vigor, it's either world domination or the depth of hell for Scorpio. They're very dark, they're goth, they wear black all the time, they're very mysterious, they don't want people to know what they're all about. So this eclipse is also related to a star, which is in the constellation of Crux, which is the cross of the matter. And it relates to divination. So we're allowed to tap into other dimensions, and it allows us to use power for good or evil. So Scorpio, it's black or white, it's never gray. There's no 50 shades of anything here. So the cards associated with the tarot cards for this deck is the 5 of Cups. So if you use tarot, and you want to work with this eclipse, I would advise you to use your cards, whatever deck you use. It's the 5 of Cups. Now, this is a card of loss and disappointment. So it doesn't mean everything's all over. The 5s are always testing and difficult because they're related to, on the tree of life, the pillar of the Sephira of Geberah, which is severity, ruled by Mars as well. So all is not lost, but it might be a good time to do a lot of grieving. Okay, we have to let go before we can make way for anything new. The other cards associated with Scorpio, of course, are the number 13 here, the Death card. This is the Thoth Tarot that I use here. You can see it does say has Scorpio symbol on it there. Okay, and the Tower is the card, the number 16 here, that rules Mars. Now, of course, I'm going to read it, the story about, of course, 9/11, which is very tragic, unfortunate, incident, and a lot of innocent people were killed. But literally, at 9/11, the U.S. was living the archetype of the Tower. Okay, all right. Now, the card of Scorpio per se is the Prince of Cups here. So, you want to use that card as well. Okay, all right. So, yeah, what gives us pleasure? That's another thing we want to ask about here. Now, let's see. It seems like I had a lot to talk about here. All right, so let's get to the tarot cards. I don't know what time it is now, how long I've been talking. I can't see you right now. I'm on my phone. Okay, so I don't want to talk too long because I know what people do want to get to the tarot cards. Yeah, let's talk about the chart. Okay, hold on a second. All right, let's transition into that chart there. Again, let's talk about the nitty-gritty of this chart. Okay, now, so there's the Sun, Venus, and the Moon together, 2 degrees of Scorpio. Okay, ruled by Mars, out of bounds, 25 degrees of Gemini. Okay, and Mars is in trine to Neptune at 23 degrees Pisces. So this is very dreamy, imaginative, but also can be illusions, delusions, projections, debt, loss, also viruses at this time. Okay. Mercury at 22 degrees Libra is also opposite. Sorry, it's in conjunct to Neptune. So there's something, again, that we're not seeing, or something a little bit out of kilter with aspects here. Okay. Now, Pluto, the ruler of this chart in modern astrology, is at 26 degrees Capricorn, and it is squaring Libra and squaring Eris, the Disturbia goddess. Pluto's opposite Lilith at 21 degrees of Cancer, which really I believe is like the protest that all the women are going through in Iran for being really put down. They want to be free, Let's see, I'm just going to, now, Jupiter is also at 0 degrees of Aries. Now, this is also really important because that is the first degree in the zodiac. And so Jupiter at 0 degrees of Aries gives us a sense of a fresh start, even though Jupiter is, again, retrograde. So we're going to have to wait till December the 20th when Jupiter re-enters Aries to kind of move forward. So there's a lot of, even though Saturn is moving direct and it's basically stationary at this eclipse, and when planets are stationary, turning either from retrograde forward or forward to retrograde, they are at their most powerful. They're barely moving, like Mars right now, too. It's basically stationary. So Mars and Saturn, the two malefics, right, are basically sitting still in the sky, right? So it's kind of like a hold your breath energy, okay? There is a beautiful grand air trine going on from Mars to Mercury to Saturn, which is very nice there. So 25 degrees Gemini, 22 Libra, 18 Aquarius, okay? Saturn is also connected to Vesta, so the root word of investment. So investing ourselves in freedom, new ideas, opening up. Chiron, the wounded healer at 13 Aries, is widely opposed to Mercury. What else do we want to talk about? Juno is at 7 degrees of Pisces, opposite Ceres, the Great Mother, at 10 degrees of Virgo. But you can see there's a big cardinal square going on there from Eris to Lilith to Mercury to Pluto. So there is a lot of tension there. The Sun and the Moon also are squaring Pluto. Okay. So really when Pluto gets to, now eclipses kind of leave shadow points. So when Pluto gets to 0 degrees of Aquarius on March 23rd, 23, it will again activate this eclipse point by square. So always 3 months after an eclipse, there is a square. 6 months later, there's an opposition, and again 9 months later, there's another square, and then returning to that eclipse degree, so it leaves like a shadow mark. If you can see the eclipse, traditionally in Indian astrology, there is a whole list of things that you do and don't do. Usually you take a bath, There's certain things you're not supposed to touch. Pregnant women are not supposed to go out under an eclipse. And you're supposed to chant mantras. So according to the Tibetan Buddhists, now I did a lot of training with a Tibetan Buddhist master for about 10 years. Any good deed or good prayers that you say while an eclipse is on is magnified 100 million times. And also anything bad, evil, or not right livelihood, they call it, any ill intent, anything not of loving kindness will magnify also 100 million times. So be very careful. That's why I wanted to do this now, to get you ready. I mean, don't be scared or anything. You're not supposed to drink, you're not supposed to have sex. That's traditional kind of Buddhist vows, especially during an eclipse, right? I know that a lot of people are going to go, oh, tantric sex time. You have to be very careful under an eclipse. I mean, not to be scared, but it is a time to really stop. If you observe, now this is a partial eclipse, but it'll be about 82% obscured the sun. If you've seen an eclipse and you've felt it, it does change the electromagnetic frequencies of the earth. We are electromagnetic beings, and so we will feel the extent of the eclipse. Okay, so there's that chart. So you want to look at where, again, the sun, moon, and Venus are impacting you. Okay, all right, I'm going to take that off. Okay, so now let's get down to the tarot cards. Okay, so the way this works is I have my special crystal. I'm going to put my cards together. So I am using the 22 major arcana of the tarot, plus a very special and extra card here that comes with this deck. This is called the Da'at. This is the Invisible Sephiroth card. I'm going to put that one in. And I'm going to use those minor cards. Well, no, I'm going to take them out. Okay. I'm going to take them out, actually, and just deal with the majors, because the major cards are archetypes. And Scorpio, because it rules the soul, because it really is an archetypal sign, I'm going to take those out and just deal with the major arcana. I personally do not use, where did they go? I personally do not use reversals, actually. That was just the way my tarot card teacher taught me. Sorry, I still have a couple of minors in there. All right, okay, so what you want to do is I'm going to start with Aries, and I go through all the signs. So if you know, of course, you know your sun sign, but if you know your moon sign, your rising sign, when I pull the card for those signs, you can also use those cards as well. Okay? All right, so here we go. I'm going to take the cards. So take a deep breath and close your eyes. Aries, we're going to do you first. I'm just going to touch my chakras there. All right, so Aries. Let's see what Aries says. Now, Aries and Scorpio, of course, you're the ones who are most impacted by a Scorpio solar or lunar eclipse. Okay, so Aries, this one's for you. You get the Wheel of Fortune. All right, so the number 10. So Aries, if again, your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising sign, if that is Aries, then the Wheel of Fortune. So use this heavy-duty Scorpio solar eclipse with Mars there in Gemini to really push things forward, to understand the wheel is turning, even though it may not feel that way right now. The wheel is turning in your favor. The Wheel of Fortune is Jupiter, by the way, which can indicate Jupiter's at 0 degrees of Aries. So it is at really the first degree of Aries. So it is very important and very impactful. So this is a nice synchronicity, Aries. Now, you probably won't hear this anywhere else. There's been incredible synchronicities I found with the tarot cards and the astrology for me the last few days, like uncanny, actually. So see this as an entire new beginning in your life, Aries, okay? The Wheel of Fortune, it's about taking risks. Aries likes to take risks. It's about just trust. It's about faith. Jupiter will enter Pisces. It may mean that things really start to gel when Jupiter hits 0 degrees of Aries on December the 20th. So plan now for your big breakout role, okay? You can afford to take a bit of a risk, then do. The Wheel of Fortune is a gamble. Trust, have faith, but listen to what your soul is telling you. Okay, this is really important. This is the major key right now, okay? Great. Okay, so Aries. All right, sorry, I'm just going to move this over here. All right, so Taurus. Okay, so again, Taurus sun, Taurus moon, Taurus rising. Okay, so Taurus, what do you have here? All right, you get the card of the moon here. So this is the number 18. The card of the moon is like Pisces, actually. So if you're a Taurus, the eclipse is happening in your, here. So for Aries, it's in your 8th house, which is its natural placement, Scorpio. If you're a Taurus, it is in the 7th house, of course, of relationships, traditionally marriage. So you may be going through a kind of foggy or big projection time, or I'm really searching for my soulmate, Taurus, right now. The moon is a card of a test of faith. Again, you're in your dark night of the soul, Taurus. Okay. Now, this may further impact that. Now, if you're having any mental health issues or any heavy duty, like suicide or anything, please call a hotline and get help. Please reach out to someone for help. This can be feeling really heavy and very intense. Dark night of the soul is a necessary process, though, for you to get to the next level, which is the sun. And so with the sun and Venus there, I would say there is a lot of faith. Now, it may be hidden, maybe you can't see it, may not see the silver lining in a way. The moon is associated with silver. The sun and the moon and Venus together are helping you. Okay, so again, it's like you're being reborn. Okay, Scorpio does have to do with reproduction. All of the water signs have to do with birth, the womb in a sense, right? So really, you're the baby going down the tunnel. So you're being pushed and pulled, and you don't know what's going on, but you're still connected to your mother by the umbilical cord. We all are, by a spiritual umbilical cord to the Great Mother. And you have to have faith. You can hear your mother's heartbeat. Might be good to do some drumming or listen to drumming, do some little transing out there, asking your soul, asking for signs of faith. Taurus is very practical. You want to listen to your gut instincts. And you are going through a rebirth process, Taurus. Okay? All right, the moon. So listen to your dreams as well, Taurus, because that's the moon governs dreams. Okay, so Gemini. So Gemini, the eclipse is in your 6th house of work, of service, and health. So you may want to watch some health issues right now. Scorpios, if you're having any reproductive issues, that would be to watch for. And also major changes in terms of your work. All right, now, so Gemini, you get the card of lust here. This is the card of strength in most tarot decks. I know there's this 8-11 thing. This is like Leo energy. This is heart. So again, upholding your heart, having great strength. Mars at the connected to the North Star is very good for you, actually. So feel your strength, feel your power, feel your heart pounding. Really, Scorpio is full of desire. So this can be like a very heavy duty, very sexy affair coming into your life. It could be like you're really pumped up and you really want to live life to the fullest and like, what the hell? What have I got to lose? You only live once. It's kind of that kind of thing. Really wearing your heart on your sleeve, really being super passionate and not being shy about it at all. This is about taking a leading role, Gemini. So this Scorpio eclipse for the next 6 months can really get you to put your passions out there. Don't be afraid anymore. The universe has you in a way, I would say. So as Mars goes retrograde, again, from the 30th until January the 11th, this can put you back in touch with maybe some old passions from when you were a child. Gemini is like the sign of the child, or being around children, or drama, but good drama that you choose, and really saying, yeah, I'm going for it. I have these leadership skills. I know that. I'm not going to let anything stop me. And using that Scorpio drive, that obsession to get what you want. Okay? So be the king or the queen. This is like Leo energy. You have the strength, Gemini. Okay. All right, interesting. Okay, so Cancer. So the solar eclipse happens in your 5th house, which is traditionally the house of love affairs, of children, of fertility. So if you want to have a child, this would be a good auspicious time to do it under the Scorpio solar eclipse energy, or any metaphorical children, any creation. The 5th house is creativity in general, willpower. It is like Leo energy in a way. And strength, again, that sense of strength. So Cancer. You get the number 4 here, and the number 4 in the tarot is called the King or the Emperor. Now, this is Aries. So interestingly enough, again, Aries, this is the sign that Mars rules. So for Cancers, you are in trine by element to Scorpio, and it being in the 5th house. So it could be you taking a leadership role, again, being the king, being sovereign in your own life. Cancer, you tend to serve everyone else. and not know how to receive yourself. So this might be also issues about boundaries. The number 4 always has to do with boundaries. Using the 4 elements as well, making sure you use fire and earth and air and water, because our bodies are made up of those elements. So it could be you starting a new venture as well on this eclipse, okay? Being in command, being the boss, taking responsibility. It can be a new man coming into your life. It can have significance with a boss as well. So Aries, again, it's about new beginnings. So I would say also use that same timing of Mars, going retrograde and using that time to go within, maybe journaling a lot and really figuring out what it is you really want, and then waiting maybe for you, it might be till the beginning of January, when Mars turns direct January the 11th, which is also a significant day because it's 111, and that's when the first 11/11 happened years ago. All right, so Cancer, you get the card of the King. All right. All right, so Leo. So your sign is in square to the eclipse. You're also a fixed sign, so for you it's in the 4th house. So it's happening, the eclipse is happening really deep down in the depths, somewhere very hidden. It's very Scorpio-like, so it could be, let's see what it is. Oh, okay, you get the Death card. Okay, so Leo. All right, so this is really feeling that Scorpio energy to its nth degree. You could be feeling like everything is ending. You could be feeling there could be literal deaths around you, metaphorical deaths, endings, and rebirths. Now, Scorpio has 3 levels that it takes. When it's in the form of the scorpion, it's in survival mode, and that's when it's infamous for stinging people and being very, very ruthless, right? That's the lowest level, connected to the root chakra. Scorpios then evolve to a higher level where they're associated with the eagle, and they still feel all those feelings, but it doesn't run them. They still obsess about things, but it doesn't run them. They learn to rise above it. So the symbol of the eagle in indigenous cultures is about being connected to spirit more. And then the highest level of Scorpio is where they self-immolate, and they are the phoenix rising from their own ashes. Because Scorpio is all about, your ego doesn't like it, but the soul is really running the show. Scorpios came here to do a lot of deep, deep soul work. It is the sign of depth psychology. It's deep, it's heavy, it's everything that's taboo and that everyone else is afraid of. Scorpio goes right to. Okay, so you came here to do a lot of deep soul work now, Leo. So it could be working with your shadows from your childhood. It's the 4th house. Maybe things that you've forgotten or covered up. Could be abuse issues. Scorpio is related to emotional and sexual abuse. So I don't want to trigger anyone here, but if you need help, go to a counselor. This would be an optimum time to work through the shadows, which a lot of people are doing, because we're all collectively waking up and realizing if we don't take responsibility for the buck stopping here, we don't want to keep perpetuating those traumas, okay, in our own lives or in anybody else's. So, Leo, so take this to heart. So maybe it's time for you to really go within, get off the world stage there, take some time out, especially while Mars is retrograde, take some time off if you can. Really cut karmic ties with anybody that you've been connected to in your family that's been toxic. Scorpio rules toxins. And it might be a good time to do a big cleanse as well, Leo. Okay, so the Death card, death and renewal. Remember, it's rebirth time for you. All right. So Virgo. The eclipse falls in your 3rd house of communications, siblings, of short travels traditionally, so ideas, thoughts. All right, so Virgo. Now you get the card here, number 14, which is traditionally the alchemical marriage. Now traditionally this is called temperance. So this is about balancing the masculine and feminine elements, which is very much like what is happening at this eclipse. So the red represents Mars and the white would represent the moon or Venus, the feminine in different aspects. And it is about turning lead into gold. So Virgo, you now have the ability to totally transmute things from being hard and difficult. Lead is Saturn into gold. Okay, so really diving deep down in your mind. Again, it's a dual kind of sign here. It is Sagittarius actually on this card, by the way. So there could be new learning you want to do, new teaching, publishing, investigating. You're great at the details. Could be going through old conversations with your partners on any kind. It really is about transmuting and sort of marrying yourself on the highest levels, right? That's what the alchemical marriage is. It's about marrying yourself, Virgo. So integrating all of those rejected parts of yourself that you consider imperfect, really giving yourself a break. Mars and Gemini can help you to kind of go through that list and say, no, it's not true that I'm not good enough and I don't deserve love and I deserve to get better paid and I deserve to be healthy and all of those kinds of things. And I deserve to have a wonderful relationship. Okay. So Virgo, I would strongly urge you to be the alchemist. That lovely little book by Paulo Coelho is also called The Alchemist. Might be good to read it or look at what the symbols of alchemy are. They're very mysterious. You probably get totally entranced by them. So much detail in them. Okay, so Virgo, temperance, balance, okay, in everything, okay? And your health can also go through a wonderful change with this as well. Okay, all right, so Libra, you have the Scorpio eclipse in your second house, which is your house of resources and money and earnings and self-worth. Okay, so, all right, Libra, you get the marriage card, you get the lovers here. Okay, so for you, Libra, I know it's always all about relationships, so on this Scorpio eclipse, this card is about choices as well. The number 6, we are in a number 6 year, 2022. The number 6 year of the lovers. It is about choices because the opposite of the lovers is the devil, number 15. So again, this is about the marriage of the opposites, which is very significant because it is a lot of what this Scorpio solar eclipse is about, that, Mars ruled Venus, Sun, Moon, all of this very alchemical. Wonderful, 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 very auspicious, along with the Venus, Libra, star point. All of these are very auspicious signs, So again, this could bring love into your life, Libra, a commitment. It can be good for all kinds of commitments, relationships. It's Gemini, so it's also kind of light, your social life lightening up, having more fun, playing more, and also getting more serious at the same time, paradoxically. So for Libra, this is a good thing. Usually everybody likes to get the lover's card. The number 6 is the 6-pointed star. Venus is a 5-pointed star. Gemini is the 6-pointed star, which most people associate with the Jewish star. This is a very ancient symbol from Egypt, from India. It is the balance of heaven and earth. So the integration of these complementary opposites, masculine, feminine, yin, yang, day, night, black, white, can't have one without the other. Okay, so an integration and really loving yourself, Libra. Okay, so if you want to find love outside of yourself, you have to find it within. Okay, so now we're at Scorpio. So of course, the solar eclipse is in your first house of self. Okay, so if you have Scorpio rising, I have Scorpio rising. Depends on what degree, of course. It could be in your 12th house, technically, but it is by sun sign your first house of self. So major transformation, Scorpio. Okay, now interesting, another card here, rebirth. This is the number 20. So the number 20 in the tarot is traditionally called Judgment Day, and it shows the Archangel Gabriel blowing his trumpet in the Rider-Waite Smith deck. Again, this is a non-traditional deck. This is the top tarot. And it's called the Aeon. And the Aeon was really a prediction from when these cards were channeled in 1912 or 1914 about a new age coming and the rebirth of the divine child. Now, some people, interpret this a different way, but this is the healed child. This is the golden child. There's a lot of inner healing work that's going on right now that people are doing to come back to the essence of this child, the soul child, the child you were when you first came into this world, without karma even. This is like the enlightened inner child who just loves, who lives in the moment. That's what enlightenment is all about. So again, freedom from judgments. We can all be quite judgmental on ourselves, especially Virgo. But everybody does this to themselves. So Scorpio, this is a rebirth for you. Whether it's in your 12th house, if it's in your 12th house, Scorpio, if you have a latter degree, then 3 degrees Scorpio, it will be in, if you have a latter degree, past 3 degrees Scorpio, anything past 3 to 30, then the eclipse will be in your 12th house. So there's a lot of dream work, a lot of deep psychological work, excavation that you're going to be doing, but trust that this is about your rebirth. Okay, also listen to your dreams. Okay, Archangel Gabriel. Ask Archangel Gabriel to speak to you. That's his job. So call upon the Archangel Gabriel. Free yourself. Blow your own trumpet. Blow your own horn. The trumpet, it's actually trumps, which is the major arcana. The word trump, triumph, all the same thing. So blow your own horn now, Scorpio. Okay? All right, come out of the shadows. Let people see who you really are. All right. Now, Sagittarius. So for Sagittarius, the Scorpio eclipse is in your 12th house. So this is when you're going to do some really deep dream work, some shadow work. You're going to really get in there and release a lot of old karma that's been holding you back. Okay, you get the Tower here. So the Tower, again, the number 16, ruled by Mars. So this is going to be a shocking epiphany, a realization that really blasts open all your chakras and changes everything. This is a card traditionally about the false ego coming apart, falling down, and an awakening, a reawakening, because we're already enlightened and we drink of forgetfulness, and this is about a reawakening. So everything can change big time, okay? But really it is about the false structure. So this is good. Scorpio is about really dealing with the nitty gritty. So whatever's been holding you back, this is energy, it's action, it's like this, the eye, this is the third eye, awakens for you, Sagittarius. And it's you choose the dove or the snake. That's one of the symbols of the dove of peace, or the snake, which is also related to Scorpio. Not a bad thing. It's just another form of transformation because if you take ayahuasca, the snake, the anaconda eats you, and that's part of the rebirth process. Okay. So Sagittarius, big awakening. Pay attention to your dreams. Pay attention to working with your Kundalini energy, but be careful. You have to do this with guidance. Can be a big epiphany, and just trust. Trust that epiphany. Okay, it's like the word of God, really. Okay. So Capricorn. So this eclipse is in your 11th house. I hope everybody's still there with me because I can't see right now what's going on. I hope everybody can see me. I'm on the streaming key here, right? Hold on a second. Yeah, okay, I'm just looking over. I can see myself there. Okay, just making sure. All right, so where are we? Capricorn, 11th house. Okay, working with groups. Traditionally like an Aquarian, wishes, hopes, and dreams. Okay, so Capricorn, you get the Hierophant here, or the Pope. Sorry, my phone's going off there. The Hierophant, the Pope, the High Priest. So this is Taurus energy. So it's like the opposite of the eclipse. So it's about very much being embodied. It's very much about trusting your gut instincts. It's about not having any spiritual authority outside of yourself telling you what to do. I mean, Capricorns are usually very much into, it's my word. But anyway, the word and your throat chakra. So there can be issues with your thyroid, very literally, coming up. You need to speak your truth, very grounded. It has the goddess Isis on this card. It's a very feminist deck, this one actually. She is in front of that authority, kind of speaking her truth. Isis is the great mother, ancient Egypt, right? So speaking your truth is fixed. You can see there's the 4 fixed signs on this card as well. So Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius, right? So as the 11th house, it's going to be a new physical beginning because it's Taurus, sensual beginning. In terms of working with new groups, again, it's sort of an overall Aquarian influence of the 11th house, wishes, hopes, and dreams. What is it you really want to do, Capricorn? And what is it you haven't been saying? So pay attention if your throat is tight or straight or something. That's, your throat chakra is connected to your root chakra, survival, which is like Scorpio at its lower level there. So your body is calling to you as well. So really listen to what your body is saying. If you're tired, a lot of people are feeling exhausted. There's been a lot of solar flares and things like that. Listen to your body, trust it, be good to your body. Capricorn's very embodied. This is like Taurus. It's also money, finance. Do you need to put away some money? Are you buying some beautiful, lasting value things, blue chips? People want to put their money on things they can hold on to, food, things like that, practical things. Okay, so Capricorn is all of that. The number 5, which is Venus's number as well. All right, so Aquarius, you have the eclipse in your 10th house. So the Scorpio eclipse has something to do with your world reputation, your fame, your career. All right, so Aquarius, you get the Empress here. Now this is the symbol of Venus, number 3. So again, Venus, then, you want to look at the Venusian side of this eclipse and how she's conjunct the sun. So Aquarius might be really good for you. This is bringing in the feminine, the nurturing side in your 10th house. So it could mean that you as a woman, if you're a female, take your part on the world stage. It might be supporting other women in the world who are struggling. Remember, the eclipse is falling over the Middle East, and Pakistan, India, where all of these women are fighting for their rights. Being nurturing, being mothering. It can also literally be your mother, another woman in your life. It can mean you getting pregnant. It's also a card of fertility, of creativity. So literally a child, if you want a child, or some kind of new creation of any kind. It's artistic. That's Libra. She rules the arts. So maybe you've been just a little bit too heady, a little too nerdy, a little bit too into the scientific, detached. And here's Venus conjunct the Sun and Moon telling you to be creative, to make things, to just paint, to just relax, to just indulge, to be in the feminine, to receive. That's very much the feminine is the receptive, it's yin. So pay attention to all that. Also, the Empress brings money, she brings joy, beauty, harmony, Venus again, right? Love. So there can be love coming into your life as well. And to really look at how you're not listening to your feminine side, the intuition. Technically, she leads, the feminine leads, the soul leads. The soul is always considered to be feminine, the anima, in Jungian psychology. So listen to your intuition, your feelings first, and then you act on them. Okay? All right. So now we're at Pisces. So Pisces. So this solar eclipse happens in your 9th house of higher education, of traveling, of foreigners, of truth seeking. All right. So Pisces. Now you're also in a trine by element water. Okay. Now you get the card of the star here. So the star number 17 is like Aquarius. Okay. Now, so this can mean really Pisces really stepping into your higher consciousness role. Okay. The card is a really beautiful card, and I like to tell people to use these cards as really embodiments to meditate with. So you want to go out at night and look at the stars and pick a star in the sky. Stars are twinkling, planets are not. Of course, Venus is invisible now, she's behind the sun. But pick out a star and imagine, get very grounded first, and imagine Pisces, you're ruled by the feet. Imagine that your feet are very grounded to the center of the earth. And then imagine you have great properties of imagination, that you're going from the center of the earth, from the bottoms of your feet, sending your energy and your imagination, your intention out to that star. And then you take an instant journey to the star, and there you are. And you're out in the beautiful, vast, comforting space, the great void, the great mother. And you look back at Earth and just this tiny little blue dot, and all these 8 billion people, and all the problems seem so insignificant, right? But you have compassion, of course, and you want to help people. You're like a bodhisattva. And so you want to feel that you're bringing in the cosmic wisdom, the higher wisdom. This is Aquarius, energy. What is this cosmic wisdom, the higher perspective, the big picture that I can bring in? And then bring that down. You can see she's got her right hand up. She's bringing down as a water barrier. Water means consciousness, traditionally. Cosmic wisdom down through her heart chakra. Goes through her heart there, and it comes out. Sorry, where am I? Okay, and it comes out the other side, comes down to earth. So really be that conduit, that vessel, the holy vessel of cosmic energy coming down, and bring it from your heart to the earth. Pisces, that's really your job. And that's what this Scorpio solar eclipse, it is supporting you by element, is doing for you. The 9th house, new philosophies, new teachings, new writing, new publishing, new travels. You can meet exciting, maybe light workers, and actually start channeling, cosmic dimensional beings. They are pretty much around these days, pretty loud. That's my sense of it too. So Pisces, you are the star of the show as well. Don't forget that. Okay, every man and every woman and every being is a star. All right. Okay. So Cosmic Intelligence Agency viewers, fans, thank you so much. I don't even know how long I went on here for. Thank you very much for being here. This will be on replay, the Cosmic Intelligence Agency. And I just want to make an announcement here. I am going to do a Galactic Dream Healing Temple course now, which I had originally intended to start on the 27th when Jupiter enters Pisces. But now, because I'm feeling there's too much going on, I am going to do a free ritual, probably on my own page on Facebook or on YouTube. I'll let you know. Honoring Jupiter, welcoming back to the sign that he rules. It's good for, of course, Pisces and Sagittarius. And then really doing deep dream work, something I used to teach like 30 years ago, which I love to do. So, and we need to dream together. So now this course is going to start a week later, November the 3rd. It's going to be 6 weeks because I realize we're getting a little too close to Christmas there. I strongly recommend that you buy the whole 6-week series. It's $144, but you can come on a one-by-one basis. But it's really nice to have a cohesive dream group. So if you want to find out about that and sign up, you can just email me, taragreentarot@gmail.com. You can look me up my page on Facebook. I am, Tara Green Tarot Astrology Consultant, or on my website at tarottarot.com. And please join the Cosmic Intelligence Agency. They have wonderful astrologers. Their Time Lords magazine is getting raves, and its articles are being put up on astro.com. So please join the Cosmic Intelligence Agency, and I'll see you again, I guess, where are we now? At the beginning of November, when I'm going to do the monthly astrology tarot preview. So wishing you many, many blessings. Okay, thank you so much. Okay. So now, stop streaming.